Prince Harry returned to British soil with quiet hopes. He wasn't looking for a parade or a spectacle, just a few private meetings, perhaps even a moment of warmth from those who once stood closest to him. Instead, what he encountered was something far sharper than words. Silence. Not the silence of respect, but the silence of absence. A carefully orchestrated void that spoke volumes without a single sound. He arrived without the trappings once reserved for his visits. No motorcade, no formal reception, no flag raised in honor of his presence. The palace issued no press release, no cheerful announcement, no gestures of welcome. To the public, it was already unusual, but the real moment came later, captured on camera and broadcast across the world. As Harry walked past a row of soldiers, posture rigid, uniforms pristine, their eyes locked straight ahead. Not one salute, not one nod, not even the briefest glance. For a man who once wore the uniform, who had served in Afghanistan, who had been cheered at parades, this was a moment that cut deep. The silence of those soldiers was louder than any insult. The clip spread almost instantly. Millions watched as a prince, once celebrated for his military service, was treated as though he no longer belonged. On social media, the footage was dissected, slowed down, set to dramatic music, analyzed in endless threads. For some, the refusal to salute was shocking, an unnecessary slight. For others, it was symbolic justice. The conversation quickly outgrew the walls of the palace. This wasn't just about family arguments or royal drama. It was about recognition, or the deliberate denial of it. Within the royal and military world, symbols matter. A salute is not a casual gesture. It is acknowledgment, a quiet declaration of belonging, a confirmation of honor. To receive it means you are inside the circle, part of the fold. Harry once commanded it naturally. Now, in that still moment, he did not. And that absence told its own story. He had stepped away, and the institution had stepped back. It wasn't cruel in tone, it wasn't messy or emotional. It was clean, clinical, and absolute. The guards did not break protocol, and that was precisely the point. Insiders suggest this was no accident. It wasn't a rogue decision by a few soldiers, nor an oversight. This was deliberate protocol, enforced and calculated. The palace rarely uses spectacle to make its point. It doesn't need to. A refusal to act, a refusal to salute, can echo louder than speeches or statements. In that silence, the message was clear. Actions have consequences, and even a prince is not exempt from them. Harry's journey away from royal duties has never been subtle. Deals with Netflix, explosive interviews, a tell-all memoir, and documentaries that cast the monarchy in harsh light have all deepened his distance from the traditions of his birth. To some, he was brave, breaking outdated norms, speaking truth where silence once reigned. To others, he was a betrayer, using private access for public spectacle. This trip was meant to soften the edges, perhaps even repair what had been broken. Instead, it highlighted just how far he had traveled from the institution that shaped him. And hovering over it all was Meghan. She didn't attend, remaining in California, but her absence didn't remove her presence. Her name lingered in every headline, every commentary, every whispered conversation. To critics, she remains the symbol of Harry's estrangement. To supporters, she is his anchor, the one who gave him strength to walk away. Either way, her shadow stretched across the visit. Even without her there, people debated her influence. The silence of the guards was read by many as not just about Harry, but about the choices he made with her by his side. Inside the palace walls, things were no warmer. Reports suggest Harry did meet with King Charles, but under strict limitations. A short tea, no official photographs, no public statements. The meeting, insiders say, felt polite but transactional. Two people fulfilling an obligation rather than family trying to heal. Whatever was said remained private, but the optics outside made the tone clear. Harry could enter the room, but not the fold. He could sit at the table but not reclaim the place he once held. The institution was careful, precise, controlled. Not cruel, but not kind either. He was not embraced. He was managed. The public, watching from afar, saw more than a simple protocol exchange. They saw a prince walking through halls that no longer felt like home. His body language betrayed him. Stiff shoulders, clasped hands, a polite smile without the confidence he once carried in uniform. The footage painted a picture of someone navigating familiar territory, now turned foreign. It was eerie in its calm. For critics, it was confirmation. Harry had traded tradition for celebrity, and tradition does not forgive easily. For supporters, it was harsh, perhaps unnecessarily so. But whatever side you take, the moment carried undeniable weight. The military's silence wasn't about personal animosity. Those guards weren't expressing private opinions. They were following protocol. That was what made it sting. It wasn't one man refusing to acknowledge him. It was the entire system. Harry had stepped out of the chain of command, and the chain closed behind him. For those still serving, especially those who swore loyalty to crown and country, Harry's public revelations felt like a breach of trust. The Oprah interview, the Netflix specials, the memoir, they weren't just stories to them. They were wounds to the institution they protect. Loyalty in that world is everything, and once it's broken, regaining it isn't simple. Even among the British public, the divide remains sharp. Some say Harry has been treated unfairly, punished simply for daring to step outside rigid norms. Others argue he made his choice, and choices carry consequences. Walking away from royal life means walking away from its protections, its privileges, and yes, its salutes. And so, when Harry walked past those guards, their stillness spoke not of cruelty, but of reality. You chose a different path. You no longer stand inside the fold. As his visit drew to a close, the tone did not shift. No ceremonial send-off, no final embrace. He left as he arrived, quietly, without fanfare, under the same shadow of silence. Meghan's absence continued to feed speculation, her name tied to every analysis, every critique. Some said she stayed away to avoid escalating tensions. Others saw it as proof of a permanent break between her and the monarchy. Either way, it added weight to an already heavy narrative. The critics could still cast her as the reason, and the supporters could still see her as the anchor. She was not there, but she was everywhere. In the end, the message was unmistakable. The royal family doesn't need to banish or condemn. It has its own tools, centuries old and honed by tradition. Silence, protocol, omission. These are the sharpest instruments. You're not punished. You're ignored. And for Harry, that may be the hardest reality of all. No dramatic confrontation, no loud rejection, just the absence of acknowledgment, leaving him to walk through halls that once echoed with belonging, but now stand still with indifference. The debate will continue, as it always does. Is Harry the brave truth-teller challenging outdated systems, or the privileged prince who turned his back on the institution that built him? Opinions divide households, fill headlines, and fuel endless commentary. But beyond debate lies something harder to dismiss. The image of a prince, once saluted with pride, now walking past soldiers who did not move. The crown doesn't chase those who walk away. If you want back in, you must return fully. And even then, redemption is not guaranteed. In that world, respect is not permanent. It is earned, and once lost, it may never be restored.